I'm Ranae Ward, and I'm going to be talking to DeJong because it's Pride Month, and we just wanted to spread some awareness, bring something to the table. So, could start by you could tell us what was your experience like as a student athlete, being a part of the LGBTQ community.
My experience, first of all, I was blessed with the opportunity to be a college athlete at Rutgers and get a degree. And my experience has gotten to me to the seat that I'm at. So it's been a positive impact. But I do think there were moments when I first started college that were really difficult for me, being a part of that community. But I think also just finding who I was at that moment and being comfortable in my own skin, which I wasn't at that point. I grew up in a conservative household, a religious mother, and as I knew I was a little bit different growing up, I had just left high school and gone into college, and had left my parents, which struggled with who I was becoming. So moving to college, I remember my freshman year coming in and just feeling uncomfortable with who I was and trying to fit into, which is brand new. I mean, 18 years old, college, it's a transition. You're starting a team, you're meeting new people. So I just remember feeling a lot of anxiety during that moment of my life, but really focused on being a student athlete and being a part of a team. So, and when my experience, again, as I said, it was positive, there were moments that because I was different, my teammates weren't always wonderful at every moment during that process. So I had to struggle through that of finding who I was and listening to a couple comments in the locker room. And again, I don't think they knew how much anxiety I had. During that process, and I probably made them uncomfortable too because I was uncomfortable. And you know how you
feed off of each other's energy.
It is whether you're happy and confident in who you are. Has an impact on whether people approach you. Are happy to be around you and approach conversations. So I remember 18 to 22, probably a little prior to 18. Just being difficult, trying to figure out where I fit in and who I could talk to.
I definitely relate to that a lot. But how did you work through that discomfort,
Slowly.
Definitely. It takes a while.
Slowly. I think I worked through it by surrounding myself with people that I knew I could be comfortable with. At Rutgers, they did have an LGBT community. It wasn't LGBTQ plus at that moment, but they did have one. So I did use that resource. Teammates that were positive about it, I spent more time with them. My coach was wonderful, although it took a little bit of time for me to get there and have those conversations. She was a huge impact on how I processed who I was and getting confident in who I was. But I'll be honest with you, I probably, through college, into my 30s, truly wasn't comfortable having an open conversation about my life, who I was married to, who I loved, who I hung out with. I wasn't open completely with that, so.
That's awesome that you had a really good support group at the time, though. So now you're working in athletics. How is it different from when you're an athlete?
One, I think college athletics is a bit of a shelter. And college in general, I think you find more people are open to different people, diversity, equity, having conversations. I think college athletics has always been a comfort for me because again, you do see different people from all different walks of life, whether that's in athletics or outside of athletics. So I do think I have been blessed to be a part of this occupation, this industry. I do think there's been growth in conversation, growth in open-mindedness. I remember certain parts when I was a coach, recruiting and and breaking through that uncomfortable conversation when a parent asked me if I was married,
Yeah.
and I would answer, well, yes, I am married. And then the next question would be, so what does your husband do?
Like, well.
Yeah, and having that conversation and working through it. And I actually think
Yeah.
the student athletes that I was recruiting were very comfortable with that conversation. It was just getting through me being comfortable at the table to say that, yes, I am married. No, I'm married to a woman, and she works in college athletics, or working through when I became an administrator, a donor or an alum.
Yeah.
Typically, your donor and your alums are a little bit older.
Yeah.
And walking into a gala or Hall of Fame and them asking the same question,
Yep.
and dealing with the hesitation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, again, that hesitation could have been uncomfortable, or that hesitation could have been like, oh, they might have been like, hey, I probably should have said your spouse instead of, but working through that process. I do remember one time in my career when I became an athletic director, my director of sports information, that's what they were called at that time, rewrote my bio. And at the end of my bio, it said she lives with her wife and her son. And I had a moment where I was like, whoa. I didn't get to read this before he put it up on the website. But I took a moment back and I was like, I didn't know if I wanted that out there.
Yeah.
But then I took a step back and said, he just treated me like he would have treated anybody else.
And that's exactly what we need.
And that's exactly what we need. So I took a deep breath and went, that's wonderful that he just did that. So, but I did have a little bit like, like we just went there. But if you read anybody else's bio,
it's all there.
It's all there.
Yeah.
So I took a step back and said, a proud moment that I had a staff member that was proud of me and my background. And I had to take a moment to check myself and go, why are you so uncomfortable with this?
Like, this is me.
This is me. So there have been a few points in my life where I have just had to get over it.
Yeah.
So
going back to the people just assuming that you had a husband, like, I think that's so important, like the language that people use nowadays. Like, we just need to shift to more inclusive language, like just saying the partner or spouse or whatever. But we're getting there. Definitely.
I think we are too, and I think that we think about it.
Pride Month, June, we're here, we're in it. What does that mean to you?
First off, I think we should be celebrating everybody every day.
Every single day. Agreed.
But for me, Pride Month is recognizing the history of the LGBTQ plus community. It's recognizing the struggles, the change of laws, the people that have lost their life, that have not been accepted. It's recognizing people that came before me that couldn't get married, couldn't adopt a child, and the struggles that they may have felt in their lives of being themselves, and also probably not loving somebody else. I mean, there are many people that chose not to be who they were. Because they were afraid to be who they were. So,
that's really sad to think about.
Again, those struggles opened doors and opportunities. Those struggles opened up conversations about how we treat each other. Laws being changed, being able to get married. Those things are all things we should celebrate every day. But for me, this month is about really focusing that spotlight on where we've come, and hope, again, opening up conversations like you and I, the conversation you had, the America You Spread Respect, which I was completely impressed and proud of you.
Thank you.
It's about having those conversations and being able to have people see you and know there are other people like you, and that we're celebrating each other.
I know in a lot of cases people want to know like how they could be a good ally, like how they could support the LGBTQ community in a respectful way. How do you think people could do that?
Well, I think allyship is extremely important. And in athletics, I think it's about being a good teammate. In everything that we do, it's about being supportive. It's about family. For me, I think if there was a little bit more open conversation and allyship in my locker room, I would have gotten more comfortable quickly and would have been able to be my true self, which I think I would have been a better human being, a better softball player, just again, just a better teammate myself if I would have had that. I do think that being a good teammate in your locker room is tremendous in making a difference in somebody's life. Outside of sport, I think most of the time we think that we're very accepting in athletics, and there's a ton of great teammates, but we don't recognize the allyship outside of athletics. What is that human being going through in their home, in their community, in their church? How is that person feeling? And if you can have an ally in every part of your life where you can turn to and feel comfortable, I think that is where we see a difference. I think, again, talking about family, I think, in your locker room, talking about how important it is to be able to be your true self, about using that language we talked about significant other, being open to conversations about who we may be dating. You know those conversations happen.
Yeah, yep. I remember freshman year I came in. What boys are you dating? I'm like, well, none. I'm just like, I don't know. And I wasn't comfortable enough to say that, yeah, I'm not really into guys, but it was just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like stunned.
Yeah, and again, I think that's where the conversation of using language, saying the right thing, but also doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It is so important about saying, hey, if you want to talk about who you dated that weekend or who you want to, it's not a gender.
Yeah.
It's about not staring too long at two people that are the same sex holding hands.
Yep.
It's about all of those things. It's the actions that we take that match the language and what we're saying to be inclusive with that. So I think it's taking the time to get to know your teammate, asking those questions and being inclusive in there if they're open to have those conversations, or just saying, hey, I'm here for you. Whenever you want to talk, whatever you want to talk about, I've got your back.
Yeah.
I'm right here. You call me, you text me, whatever you want, but I'm here for you. And I think as administrators and staff members and coaches, it's about really making sure that when you're interacting with your student athletes, that you are open, aware of you, aware of your body language, aware of the language that you may use. And when you offend somebody, be open to listening to that criticism, that they may come back and say, hey, coach, or hey, Deb, or, Ranae, that insulted me, or I felt offended by, and really being open to listening why that may have offended you.
Exactly, because then they'll just be more comfortable and they could be themselves.
Yeah.
And that's all we want for the world. That's awesome. I love that. Thank you for this.
Wow,
This has
I
been
appreciate
great.
having it. So.
Yeah, we learned a lot.